Let's talk first game. Obviously, it was the first one of the day. A lot of news. You mentioned the Lee Corso thing. That was quite the tribute by both ESPN and Fox, the media networks combined to highlight such a legend in TV, in broadcasting, as we're doing right now, but also in the game of football itself. Quite the way to start it off. But let's start it. Our conversation today with Texas and Ohio State. Obviously, Ohio State, the returning national champions. Texas ranked number one. A lot of hype behind quarterback number one, Arch Manning. Ends up going in Ohio State's favor, 14-7. A low-scoring one. People might see it as a fluke, but I know you and I see this game in a little bit different of a way.
Yeah, before I touch on that game, you mentioned Lee Corso real quick, and I think we would be all doing ourselves a discredit if we didn't give a big shout out to Lee. Lee turned so many people into college football fans throughout the years and his impact. And I know he had a lot of tributes, and I'm going to keep saying it. Okay, I think college football yesterday was special. He picked Florida State. Florida State beat Bama. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But I mean, all 6 of the schools that he coached at all won yesterday. I mean, it's beautiful. He went 4 for 4 in his picks. I mean, he's on a roll, and it's just one of those things that just you love to see it. But speaking on Texas, Ohio State, yeah, man, one of those games where I think I would pay a lot of money to see the all 22 of that film. Just a defensive masterclass from both sides. And it's one of those things, one of those games really where you're watching. It looked like one of those classic old-style Big Ten football games. But what really made that game different is that those are not 2 classic old-style Big Ten offenses. Those are 2 really innovative and 2 of the best offenses in college football. So to see those offenses struggle the way they did, I don't think struggle was even the correct word. I think both those offenses fell victim per se to just 2 really, really, really elite defenses. Okay, those defenses, the amount of NFL players on that roster are just insane. And when we speak about NFL talent on rosters, I think we're doing a discredit if we don't mention Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs has shown not just once against Tennessee, he showed it last year. Against Texas, he showed it last year. Caleb Downs can shut down one side of the field, both sides of the field. The way he can play the back end as a safety, the way he can come up and make a tackle. I think Caleb Downs is the best player in college football right now. I don't think it's really a debate. I think you could even argue that he's been the best player since he was a freshman in college football. And those are just some of those things where that game was just really cool. And I think college football won by having that game week 1.
College football fans would agree with your sentiment on that. The best player in college football, arguably since he was a freshman, but certainly now Caleb Downs for Ohio State. I think Ohio State really gained their advantage in this game in a simple way. They drained a lot of clock. Looking back on it, they had long drives, sustained drives. In the first half, they ate up 8 minutes on a drive, took up some clock. And that was their hope, was to keep the Texas offense off the field for as long as they could. A hard team to prepare for with a new quarterback, both teams with new starting quarterbacks too. So that was something I'm sure that was difficult to prepare for. But getting the ball back on the 10-yard line, 8 minutes left in the game, driving, giving a 4-minute drive, limiting the amount of time Texas had to go score, I think was a big piece of why Ohio State won. And that's something that Coach Day emphasized after the game as well. He put a lot of trust in his new starting quarterback, Julian Sayin, who I thought, frankly, showed a lot of really, really important tools. I don't think the game caller, the offensive play caller, even got to really put him in situations to where he could go make a play. It was a relatively conservative, relatively simply called game, I thought, for Julian. And Coach Day said, I thought he handled himself well, took care of the ball, made some throws when he needed to, didn't force it. And he had the same thought. Maybe they could have thrown him a little more of a curve in it and to see what he can do. But after all, it is just week 1.
100%. I think Julian Sayin had a really good game. You mentioned the stats in time of possession. That was definitely Ohio State's game plan. They had the home field advantage. They wanted to have the ball ultimately. But when you look at the stats box score-wise, I mean, Texas had more yards of total offense, more yards rushing. If you would have told me that Texas was going to go to Ohio State and rush for as many yards as they did, average 4.5 yards a rush, and they walked away there with a loss, I would have thought this is a joke. But, I mean, ultimately, I think really the difference maker in this game was the home field advantage for Ohio State, and I don't want to be that guy. But when you have a freshman, not even necessarily a freshman, I guess Julian Saint's technically a freshman, redshirt. But then when you have Arch coming in for his first road start, and I mean, Arch, we can get into that after this topic, but the home field advantage played a massive factor. Julian Saint being able to sit back and change play calls, and communication's much easier with his offensive coordinator because they get till, I think, 15 seconds to communicate with the coordinator. So there's just a lot of factors. But I think the game changers in this game were Jeremiah Smith, home field advantage, and Caleb Downs. I think that was one thing Texas also really struggled with. The wide receivers have to play better. Arch has to play better. But overall, I was impressed by both teams. And, yeah, I don't think there was – on the stat sheet, there's a loser of that game, but I don't think either team really lost. And I think both teams are going to get better after this week.
100%. And Ryan Day emphasized that importance of the atmosphere in his postgame. Let's take a listen now.
I also want to thank the fans. What an unbelievable atmosphere. From, driving in this morning from my house, seeing everybody at game day, at big noon kickoff, seeing people around the stadium, tailgating, and then the atmosphere in the stadium when we came out for warm-ups. I mean, there wasn't very many empty seats. And for a noon kickoff, to have that many people in the stadium was amazing. And so for an atmosphere like that, week one, to bring everybody together was great for our team. And I think it made a huge difference in the fourth quarter. So I want to thank, I say all the time, it takes everybody. And the fans certainly brought it today. And, I'm just proud of our guys. Just a gritty win to start the season.
So obviously Ryan Day knows the home field advantage, certainly a thing. And in week one, you're going to get that in many of these top Power 5 schools, but especially the defending national champs. And one thing I noted in his presser that he said after the game is, we talked about it this week. In week one, we can't beat ourselves. We wanted to let them, meaning Texas, beat us. And unfortunately for the Longhorns, that seemed to kind of have been the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly true, and I think the same exact thing could be said for Texas. If you look at Sark's play calling in the first half especially, it seemed almost as if both teams were playing not to lose, right? Like, they weren't playing to win. And I think late in the fourth quarter, you finally saw Texas' offense come alive and Arch look a little bit more comfortable because Texas' offense actually looked like Texas' offense. And that was the key. And this is one of those games where those defenses were playing so well that it's one of those old school gritty battles where if you get that one turnover, you win the game. Ohio State got that one turnover, they won the game. So I think it really was just a battle of who's not going to lose this game rather than who's really going to win that game. But yeah, Ryan Day was spot on right there.
Yeah, and the execution, I thought, was maybe the part that Texas lacked a little more of than Ohio State. You look at the numbers, right? And I'm sure Texas last night heading into today is thinking about red zone. They were 0 for 2 in the red zone. They were 5 for 14 on third down, 1 for 5 on fourth down, 6 penalties for 50 yards. Like they had time and time again had these chances to keep that offensive flow going, and it was halted either by penalties or by the inability to make the play and move the markers. Just tough spots. And those fourth downs when you're right on the goal line, I think come week 2, week 3, week 4, as the season progresses, that's something that Texas won't falter on if they get the chance again.
It's one of those things that Texas fans have struggled with for a long time since Sark took the job at Texas. The red zone offense has been something that has been, quite frankly, given Texas fans nightmares, right? Sark has not been able to figure it out. What the key is there, I don't think anybody knows the answer. Sark doesn't know the answer. Sark's first question at SEC Media Days this fall was about his red zone offense, and brutally enough, the way Texas season ended last year is the way they lose week 1 again. It all comes full circle when you don't take care of red zone offense, and a lot of teams in the country who have bad red zone offenses usually don't win too many football games, and that's just the reality of college football.
2 sentiments I can give of positivity towards Texas is, one, this is just a measuring stick to see where Texas is at. A new group coming in this year, going away on the road in week 1 to play in not only the Corso game and the heightened energy of that, but also just to play in a defending national champions home field. The shoe, never easy. Second half was different than the first. And also, I noted Arch in his postgame, there was a reporter that said, at the end of the season, when you look back at this game, do you think you'll say, wow, that was the worst performance I had all year, but I'm glad I had that. And he said, exactly, I sure hope so, which got a laugh out of the press conference room. He said, I I think I beat myself up today. We beat ourselves up today. I think we're going to look back and say, wow, we've improved a lot. So a lot to look forward to. And I think they're excited to get back to the drawing board ahead of week 2. That's something they all mentioned in that post game. So that was the first game of the day, right? Supplied plenty of energy. If we just had that game, I think we all would have been just all right. It was one of those.
I don't know. There was a lot of complaints on that game, and I don't know. I guess people don't like watching defense anymore. I know. But back in the day, you guys used to love to make fun of the Big 12 for not playing defense and used to act like that was a bad product of football. Fun fact, the offense was just ahead of the time. I'll go to war for this. I always will go to war for this. There's a reason why Alabama's offense looked so good when they actually moved to a good scheme that wasn't hand the ball to Derrick Henry 50 times. But that's a conversation for a different day, and I don't feel like getting into that right now. But yeah, you spoke lastly on Arch Manning. One thing I want to hit is Arch Manning, man, like, if you're Arch Manning, it's one of those performances that you will look back on, and I think you will be the most grateful for of all time. For Arch Manning, dude, I can't imagine. Like, put yourself in Arch Manning's shoes. First off, nobody can. Okay? Nope. Nobody, not a single college football player in college football history could ever put themselves in Arch Manning's shoes. Nope. Arch Manning is at arguably the biggest brand in college football, has 2 Hall of Fame family members, right? Eli Manning, Peyton Manning. His dad's a legend. I mean, the whole family's a legend. Archie's a legend. He came into this game, and not only did he come into this game never playing a road game before, he came into this game never playing a road game before as the Heisman favorite. Like let that sit in. And not only was he playing a road game, he was playing a road game at Ohio State. And I'm not gonna lie, okay? Ohio State fans hate me. I don't know why. Go blue. But that fan base gets loud, man. Like, go turn on the Tennessee game from last year in the college football playoff. I mean, that fan base was loud. Go turn on the game from yesterday at Texas. I mean, that team was loud. Also, another factor I think Texas fans and everybody in college football needs to factor in, Texas got 4 new guys on the offensive line. Okay, when you rotate in that many new guys, there was a 4th down play where the right tackle, Brandon Baker, just completely busted. Just completely missed his man, right? And those are things that'll get fixed up with time. But Brandon Baker's uber talented guy, 5-star, but he's just got to get those fundamentals and experience together. So I think overall, any Arch Manning hate or wow, he's going to stink, definitely needs to hit the brakes. But I do also think Arch Manning's going to be fine. Okay, let's just case in point, Arch is going to be fine. He's going to do what he needs to do at Texas. That Texas team is still absurdly talented, nothing to take away. Ohio State just had a better day, and that happens sometimes on the football field. But last thing on the Arch Manning that I have to say is a lot of Texas fans gave Quinn crap last year, and I think a lot of Texas fans need to appreciate what Quinn Ewers did for that university, not in any slander towards Arch Manning, but Quinn Ewers put Texas back on the map. Quinn Ewers is the best quarterback to grace Texas since Colt McCoy, and I think Quinn did not get the love he deserved during his years at Texas, and that's what I had to say.
100%. And I think, too, on the Arch point, there's a level of inhumanity that comes with being a star, with the family that he has, with the spotlight that he's been on, and what I think this game will do for him. To your exact point, there will be no better test, there will be no better gift looking forward 10 weeks from now than the fact that he had this game. And what I think it does is it humanizes the situation. It might take a little bit of pressure off, but nobody's expecting this God in week 2. They saw him. He's been in the flesh. He's done he's back to a human level. Yeah, I hope for him now.
That's one thing that people thought he was Henry Cavill, Superman from Man of Steel coming in this game, right? Like they put these absurd expectations on him. At the end of the day, he is a human. Okay, sports psychology is real. Okay, your favorite team has a sports psychologist. Okay, these athletes don't check social media because when they have a bad game, because they know you're hating on them, they know it messes with their mental fortitude. Okay, so like there's a lot that goes into it, and I think it's the biggest weight off his shoulders. He's no longer the Heisman favorite. He just gets to go out there and play football again. I think that's all Arch really wanted. And I mean, just not beyond Arch's debut, just what a weekend game that was. Lee Corso, there was so much going on. Ohio State celebrating their national championship. I mean, the stakes couldn't have been higher for Arch, on top of the all the other pressure he already had due to outside media and media expectations. I think, like I said, Art's going to be fine. Tech's going to be fine. Sark said he was going to let him rip. And I think Sark actually needs to let him rip, run that RPO, let him use his legs, and truly let it rip in his best way. And yeah, he definitely looked a little shaky, but first game jitter's gone. Probably one of the most intimidating environments he'll play in all year, if not the most. Probably the most due to environmental circumstances, game circumstances, and it's just one game in the belt, put it in the back, and move on.
Yeah, and I think you're so right too on the getting him involved early, right? He's one of those guys where he takes a hit and that makes him a little better. It gets the juices flowing. I think they should focus maybe on even getting his legs going a little more early. Get him kind of in that mode, get him in that flow of the game, and see if he can take off from there.
100%.